Hey everybody, it's Mike. Welcome back to the shop. Today we're working on a LB7 General Motors Duramax diesel. We are changing the AC compressor clutch assembly on this. We recently put a new alternator on it. Had about a little over 225,000 miles, so the alternator bearing had failed. Kind of stands reason that other components maybe in the belt train might be having issues with bearings about that same time frame. So you can replace the AC compressor, but you have to evacuate the refrigeration system and then recharge it, which isn't the end of the world. It's just on a nice, tight, clean system that has not been opened up. I generally don't like to open them up if you don't have to. If you have other issues and you want to address them at the same time, now's the time to do that. But on a nice, clean, tight system that has not had to be opened, I generally like to keep them that way. So if you don't have to open up the refrigerant and bleed and evacuate it out, then you're kind of a step ahead of the game. So I'll go ahead and reposition the camera and bring you in here and show you how to replace the clutch as an assembly. Now, years ago, back when I worked in auto parts stores, about close to 30 years ago now, they actually listed a bearing for this clutch assembly, and you could replace them, pull them off, and you sometimes had to grind the rolled edge off the bearing on the back side, and I can show you where you used to have to do that. Knock the bearing out, press the new bearing in, and kind of roll the edge back over with a punch. You can still do that on these. They do not list bearings any longer. They list a compressor assembly, which will come with a clutch assembly and everything ready to bolt on, or you can get a AC compressor clutch assembly. Most auto parts stores anymore do not stock the clutch assembly because they do stock the compressors, but I went ahead and this wasn't an emergency, so I went ahead and got the parts ordered in for it, pulled the truck in, and now we're going to swap out the AC compressor clutch. So I'll go ahead and reset or relocate the camera so you can get a good visual down in here, and I'll show you how to go about removing the AC compressor clutch assembly. Okay, in order to remove these clutches, you'll need a removal tool and an installation tool. You can buy them vehicle specific or compressor specific rather. I've got a master set here, so this one's the GM one. So what it does is there's inside the hub, there is a internal thread this threads into, and there's a stud sticking out from the shaft, which this will press against and press the actual clutch assembly out. Then we have to go in and remove the hub, which contains the electric coil for the clutch. All right. One other note: I like to put just a couple drops of oil on the threads just to ease in installation. Plus, just to keep from galling up on the threads here. So back this center one out. This is the removal tool. Thread the outer piece into the internal threads of the hub, and they'll thread in quite a ways by hand. Generally, not always. So there is. Okay, and then once you get it in there quite a ways, go ahead and just snug it a little bit with a wrench. Then go ahead and run the center one in, and it'll push on that stud in the middle, and we're going to work this outer clutch off. You're going to put a little bit of pressure on it to get it moving. And if you see, I hope it shows up in the video, but you'll be able to see this gap here grow as it's backing out. Okay, now it's coming a little easier. Once I got it out about 3/16 to a quarter of an inch, it started coming out a little easier. This is just an interference fit is all. So, okay, let me go ahead and, so there's your clutch, and you can see this one's actually got a few marks on it. Not bad. I mean, we could probably just replace the bearing on this, but you probably could just replace the bearing on this and possibly be all right, but it is got some marks in it, so rather than fight it, we're just going to go ahead and replace the whole clutch hub. So I will go ahead and slip the serpentine belt off next. I probably won't, that's pretty simple, I probably won't show that. And then I'll show the snap ring in here that has to be removed, and then the other removal part. Okay, so now I've got the serpentine belt just relaxed there out of the way. I'm going to remove this snap ring off of here. Pull that out nice and gently. Unplug your electrical connector for your electromagnetic clutch. Be very careful on these. When they start getting some age on them, these plastic tabs get very brittle. So use a small screwdriver, ease up under one side, rock it to one side, then go up under the other and rock it to the other side and pull it out. If you try to pull both of them out like this and pull it up, I will almost guarantee you'll break one, if not both of those ears off these connectors. So I'll just tuck that out of the way. And actually, ooh, this one's actually sliding right off. How do we rate here? So I'm gonna grab a pry bar and I'm just gonna slightly pull from behind here. Okay, you can put a puller on here and press in the center stud. This is actually your input shaft for your compressor. You can put a puller on here and pull. But as I pulled after I pulled that retaining ring off of that snap ring, it slid the thickness of the snap ring and then some. So I'm just going to grab a couple of a heel bar and a pry bar here and just put a little bit of pressure. I mean, barely any at all. And you can see it sliding right off of there. It's kind of a catch-22. You want to have it come off, but you don't want to drop it on the floor. I guess it doesn't really matter, this is the old one, but still. Okay, and there's the clutch head. You can see, here's the bearing. If we wanted to, we could probably knock some of those little pins out of the way and press this bearing out. But we're just going to go ahead and see it does have some scoring in here. If I was to put a feeler gauge down in there or run a dial indicator across there, I would dare say there's probably going to be 10 to 15 thousandths variations in thickness in depths across there. And so you're not, when that clutch pulls in, you're not getting full surface contact. So I would just as soon replace this whole assembly, which is what we're going to do. Alright, all the way back here, now that we got the clutch on the other side, we have to get the electromagnetic coil out of the way. These are usually oriented with some dowel pins or some guide pins. Way back inside here is another retaining ring. Pop that retaining ring loose, and these usually will slip right off. And again, there's your guide pin with your hole right here. There's 3 pads that this sits on. One has protruding pin that correlates with that hole. Also, just to make sure you obtain the right hub or clutch assembly, look at the clocking of the connector. If you go to put the new one back on and this pin is off to where your clutch is clocked down like this, you may have gotten the wrong clutch assembly. So this one's clocked. If you're facing forward like this, it's clocked about the 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock position, and puts the connector at about the 11 o'clock position. So now I'll go over and match it up and make sure I got the right clutch assembly. Well, slight change of plans here. Seeing as how the clutch assembly that we got from the auto parts store is incorrect, and we checked the other option and it was also incorrect, we decided to just press this bearing out and replace the bearing, kind of like what I used to do many years ago. So again, you can see the little areas that are punched down. Looks like they're just taking a press and pressed the aluminum down over to retain the bearing in. Rather than go in there with a die grinder like I've done in the past, I have this cool lathe, so I might as well put it to good use. So I'm going to chuck this up in the lathe, and I'm just going to come in here with my with my facing tool and just come in and just kiss. There's probably about 10 of these. Just kiss them around there. Put this in the press this bearing out where I can get an accurate measurement of it. locate a bearing, press it back in, and then pin it over, and we're back in business. So I'm just going to go ahead and lock it up here on the chuck. Done my protection, and come in and just lightly and remember to turn the opposite direction because I'm cutting on the back side of this one. I'm going to come in until I just touch the bearing race, the outer diameter, and then I'm going to move my tool outward. Go just a little bit more. I think that's probably about enough to do it. Yep, that ought to do it. So I'll go ahead and I'll go over to the press now and press this bearing out so I can take some measurements. Alright, I've got a, from my assortment of bits and pieces over here by my press, I've got a little, just looks like a round block, or looks almost like a piston, a hydraulic piston, or something like that effect. So it fits in there pretty good on the ID of the bearing. I generally don't like pressing on the IDs, but this goes into a shoulder, so you cannot get to the outside diameter. So, but by taking and machining those retaining notches off, it should press out fairly easy. So I'm just going to press this out. Yep, press, and it's just, you can just feel the resistance of the, it's not even registering on my pressure gauge, just the resistance of the, and there it is. There's the bearing. So I'm going to measure that and see if I can locate a bearing. Okay, I don't know if this will pick up on camera, so I'm going to get the slop in it and then spin it, see if hopefully it'll somewhat pick up on the camera. Okay, so bearing showed up. There's the pulley. So we are going to, feels much better than the other one. So now we'll go ahead and walk over the press. We'll press this in, and then we'll pin it over so it holds it, and then reassemble it. Okay, so you want to find something that fits this OD. You don't want to necessarily press on the inside diameter, inside race on a new bearing. So I've got a piece here off my stash of paraphernalia here in the press. Fits that OD perfectly. So we're just going to go ahead and set it up. And press that down in. And it's in. So now we'll go over to the vise, we'll use the anvil, and we'll just peen in between each one of these other ones, and then it's ready to assemble. Okay, so I've got most of these done here. I'm just going in between each of the other ones and just peening that aluminum down over the outside diameter of the race, but you don't want to hit the race. You don't want to hit the bearing, especially not into the seal. So you can see I just peened over each one of those, and she's ready to reassemble. Okay, so I put the coil on, and then there was a snap ring inside there. So now goes the pulley on over the electromagnetic coil. Bingo. And then the other snap ring. It's on. And now that feels better than the old one. So now I'll put the clutch hub on, and this has a keyway in it. You want to make sure you line your keyway up. Start it on there. And work it on just a little bit, and then you need the installation tool. Installation tool is going to go thread on there. Well, maybe it'll thread on there. Let me grab a soft mallet and see if I can get this started just a little bit so I can pull it on the rest of the way. Alright, job's done. Got the TCM all bolted back in place. Shroud's on, belt's on, everything's good to go. We're going to fire it up. Nice and quiet. Clutch engages nicely. And that's it. That's the clutch bearing replacement on a LB7 Duramax. Thanks for watching.